Jay, this is his closing argument. He's going hard on mass deportations, and it sure isn't hurting him, probably helping him.
And the Trump campaign believes that immigration is going to be a winning issue for them, Terry. They talk about it every chance the former president gets. And mass deportation is really the crux of their immigration plan that they, again, believe is a winning issue. A few fact checks from what we just heard so far from the former president, if you don't mind. A lot he said there, a lot to fact check. I've just pulled out a few things. First, he made this offhand comment where he says, as it relates to the aftermath of Hurricane Helene, that folks in North Carolina and various other states that were in the path of the storm are, quote, getting no help from the federal government. Those were his words. That is untrue. The former president has taken to saying that, but that's not true. There's 3,500 federal personnel on the ground in those various states right now. We know that FEMA has handed out just about 2 million meals by last check. They're handing out generators. FEMA personnel are, of course, on the ground there. Not to mention, of course, the fact that President Biden was on the ground in North Carolina yesterday. He was first in the air surveying the storm damage, and then he was on the ground there, in which he has now vowed that the federal government will pay for the cost of 6 months of debris removal. So the idea that folks there are getting, quote, no help, as the former president says, from the federal government is just simply not true. There's one more thing to fact check there. He talks about Joe Biden. He does it a lot. He talks about that effort by Democrats to push Joe Biden off the top of the ticket because they believed he just could not win. The former president is accurate when he says that Nancy Pelosi and other top Democrats pushed Joe Biden to step aside. But then he goes out on a limb that's not accurate, and he says that they threatened to invoke the 25th Amendment to do so. The 25th Amendment is a provision, as you know, Terry, in the Constitution that can oust the president. But the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, has no power to invoke the 25th Amendment. Only the cabinet can do that. And there was never any reporting that Democrats threatened to kick Joe Biden out of office or off the ballot. It was ultimately, as you know, President Biden's decision to step off the ticket because he believed or heard from Democrats this concern that he could not win. That's why we now have Kamala Harris as the Democratic nominee.
Fair enough. What Trump was probably doing, there was talk among Democrats, it was public, it was in op-ed columns and the like, that the Democrats could invoke the 25th Amendment if Biden wouldn't go. But I didn't think that happened. I hadn't heard that anyone in any position of authority outside a newspaper editorial page said that. But let me ask